You're listening to Blast Podcasting, episode 21.
Rise of the Podcast. Hey guys, it's Anthony.
And this is Xander.
It's been a little while, but you know what's funny? We don't talk about too personal stuff, but you were in a transition last year, right? In your life.
Yeah.
A good one.
Yeah,
and it's funny because now that transition happened, you're in the stage where everything's settled in, and I'm going through that right now. The exact same thing that you did, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Basically, what I'm saying is my girlfriend moved in and all that, so good stuff.
It's always a good thing. And, I think it's been about a year since we did our last episode.
About a year, yeah, since 2000. We haven't done an episode since 2019.
I know.
I did not.
But, yeah, there's just been so much going on. I know you wanted to talk about some sci-fi movies.
Oh, well, TV shows, because my girlfriend, one of the things that's great about my girlfriend is she and I have a lot in common. And we watch... We're really into sci-fi TV shows. So you ever see Farscape?
No.
You know, Farscape is a very trippy show, but it's very cool because in some ways, it feels like I'm watching like a sci-fi version of like Labyrinth or The Dark Crystal, because it does have puppets from the Henson Company, as you may know.
Oh, wow. Is it like a recent show?
No, Farscape came out 20 years ago, 1999.
Oh, shit.
And it lasted 4 seasons. And then one of the most infamous things that happened with that show, unfortunately, is it ended on a very infamous cliffhanger. However, they made a 3-hour movie to conclude it. So it does have an ending.
Oh, wow.
Because there was just a big backlash for that. But basically, the basic premise of Farscape is it's about this guy and him and his childhood friend. And the main character is an astronaut. And it's basically NASA. It's not called NASA, but it's essentially NASA. And they have this theory of using, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but they use the theory of using the Earth's atmosphere to push him further into space, using atmospheres to do interstellar travel, to get light speed and shit like that. Nice. And during the test run, when they do that, the main character, Crichton, he goes into it, but he vanishes. He goes into a wormhole. Mm-hmm. And he finds himself in another part of the galaxy where there is extraterrestrial life. And he ends up boarding a ship with these escaped convicts. And that's sort of the plot line right now, is that he's fleeing with them. And I know there's this overarching story arc, of course. Mm-hmm. But he's with these fugitives. And it's a pretty good show, but what's funny about Farscape, even compared to shows like, you look at Star Trek and the aliens look very human, right?
Yeah.
Farscape, there's a lot of puppetry because it was done by the Jim Henson Company.
Oh, wow.
So if you really watch it, it's like the space version of like Labyrinth or The Dark Crystal or things like that.
Oh, so, I'd have to definitely check that out. That seems kind of cool, actually.
It is pretty cool. And the best thing is it's on Amazon Prime.
Nice. When it comes to TV shows for myself, my girlfriend's been watching a lot of crime shows. That's been our kind of our thing lately. Is we've been watching. Cause we got Philo, the streaming service. It's an excellent streaming service for folks that are listening. If you've never heard of Philo, it's kind of like cable. You can catch live television shows. You can watch it later and stuff. And we've been watching a lot of stuff on the Human ID channel. So we've been watching a lot of like a Body Cam and See No Evil, and it's been pretty intense stuff.
I love ID.
Oh yeah,
I love the ID channel.
Yeah, we've been just watching that like crazy, and we also watched, and we mentioned this before we started recording because you mentioned your girlfriend likes Power Rangers. We were watching Toys That Made Us. It's a show on Netflix, and it's 2 seasons, but both seasons are only 4 episodes long. So you got 8 episodes, but it covers G.I. Joe, He-Man, wrestling, Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I'll be honest, out of all those toys, the most interesting video or episode was Barbie. The history of Barbie was insane. I'm like, holy crap. The stuff that was going on back in the 50s, like how Barbie got started, how, women empowerment and all that stuff. I mean, it was just really, really interesting. And same with My Little Pony. I mean, My Little Pony essentially was a company trying to compete with Barbie, but they were trying to do something different. They were like, well, we can't make a Barbie because it's Barbie, so we're going to make a farm animal, but with hair that little girls would like to pet and comb through. I'm like, wow. So, and I know my Little Pony now has his like own thing. It's like completely off the walls with stuff like that. But so I've been catching up on that. I've been wanting to check out the newest Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics because Shredder is now the Green Ranger and looks absolutely badass.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have to. I'll have to look into that. You know, those IDW Ninja Turtle comics are absolutely fantastic.
They really
I've
are.
been raving about them since we did our Ninja Turtles episode, but they're really fucking good.
Yeah, they are really good, and also on a more sad note, because when I heard this news, I was like, oh, Anthony's going to be crushed. Because, as a matter of fact, one of my customers at my job, he loved the show too. But did you hear about them canceling Watchmen, the HBO show?
You know, I've only watched one episode, but you know what? That doesn't make me too sad. Let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I think they canceled it was because the guy who did the show only meant it for one season.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what the customer was telling me. He was like, it sucks, but he said at the same time, it's ending the way it's supposed to. Because he was telling me like one of the episodes he watched, he said it was like one of the best like television shows he's ever watched before. Like I can't remember what episode it was, but it blew his mind.
You know, one there's some shows that, usually they talk about shows that are cut too early,
Yeah.
and then there's the opposite where shows have a story arc and then they keep going. They just keep going because they're a massive hit. Big example of that is X-Files. That was only meant for like a 5-season story arc, but it went on for 9 seasons and then 2 more like 20 years after it ended. So, I mean, but one show that I know that had that problem but persevered is a show called Supernatural.
Yes. Which it is ending
And
very soon.
yeah, but 15 seasons. My I've never really watched it. Part of the reason was I intimidated. My girlfriend fucking loves that show.
Yeah.
She adores that show so much, but I've never watched it. I don't know if you've seen it, but I've heard nothing like most. I don't think I've ever heard anyone bad mouth it though. Like anyone, it's like you either don't watch it and don't really know anything, or you watch it and you love it. That's all I've seen from that show, from my perspective.
Yeah, same here, and I'm in the same boat you are about feeling intimidated by it, because I've talked to people in the past and they're like, "Oh, you gotta check out Supernatural," but I think it's the same thing with everybody when you get into a series and it's got so many seasons and so many episodes, it's going to be a commitment, so you're not sure if you want to get into it yet or not. So you keep pushing it aside and pushing it aside.
It's so funny because my girlfriend, she hasn't watched the new season, but it was funny. My grandparents were watching it and they were just watching one episode. They were liking the episode,
Yeah.
but they didn't know what it was. And my girlfriend just walked in the room, didn't even pay attention. She heard one of the characters talk and knew what show they were watching immediately.
Oh yeah, Supernatural just has that crazy fandom. It's right up there with like shows like Doctor Who and Star Trek and even Star Wars, which we're going to be getting into very shortly. What's funny is I purposely was like telling you, Anthony, I was just like, don't tell me what you think about Rise of Skywalker because I wanted this to be as organic as possible because you know what? I don't know if you like the movie or not. So, yeah.
I have, thinking about this trilogy, I think the problem that I've had with it is it has relied too much on the original trilogy. And
Yeah.
this has been, you say what you will about the prequels, but at least their plotting was not beat by beat or reusing certain aspects. The plotting was very. If you look at it from a plot structural way, forget Jar Jar Binks, forget all the dumb shit, right? The
Yeah,
contextual stuff. It was all very different.
it was.
Okay, okay. I'm not saying they're good movies. I'm just saying at least they were different. The problem with this new trilogy, this is my problem with this new movie. It destroyed the ending of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Palpatine should never have been brought back. That's lazy writing.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like the thing about Palpatine coming back is what I didn't like about him coming back is it made me feel like everything that Anakin went through and his redemption and Return of the Jedi was completely in vain. And here's the thing. Like I'll go ahead and say this. I liked Rise of Skywalker for what it was. Do I think it was a fantastic Star Wars movie? I guess. I mean, it's one of those things because I actually had to watch it a couple of times. I watched it in the theater. And watching it in the theater, I absolutely loved it. I watched it the second time, and I can kind of critique it a little bit more. The excitement was kind of like marinating, and everything was going good. Here's my thing about the new trilogy. I feel like the new trilogy, it has no actual purpose. Like, I feel like all the events that happen in the new trilogy, like, we didn't really have to have this new trilogy. That's what it felt like.
The problem with the new trilogy, too, is it feels like they wrote it as they went along.
Yeah, well...
It doesn't feel like it was planned out.
Well, see, here's the thing, like, and the reason why, like, I give Rise of Skywalker a little bit of a pass in some regards is that you know, J.J. Abrams, you know, he had a vision. And you know, last Jedi completely like freaking Ryan Johnson just totally like threw it in a huge loop. And when J.J. Abrams came back, he had a lot on his shoulders. He had to make sense of the Last Jedi that completely took everything that we anticipated of Force Awakens and fix everything, and also ending the whole Skywalker saga. Like he had to do all this in at least a 2-hour movie. And it's one of those things, like, I don't think that they could have made this movie any way that it would have satisfied everybody. I thought it was better than Last Jedi, if that says anything.
Oh, I agree. That's not hard to do, though. But,
yeah.
You know, tonally, it was better. It didn't have a lot of Last Jedi's problems was its stupid humor. They took away a lot of that, thankfully.
Yes.
It was just that, and there were some ideas that were good. Like, I don't hate the Rey is from the Palpatine bloodline. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that's a really good idea.
I like that. Yeah.
It just wasn't. It was not executed well. It could have. And then this whole thing about like, oh, he came back with unnatural force. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You know, he's always talked about messing with you know, even back in Sith, he was talking about messing with life and death. Mm-hmm. But like I said,
yeah, I see what you're getting. Like he's talked about it. Yeah, he's talked about it, but it was one of those things like him actually going through with it and actually happening. Like it goes back to what I said. It makes like Anakin's death look like completely in vain. Like he really like Anakin killing the Emperor and choosing the light side over the dark side and bringing quote unquote balance in the Force. It never brought back balance with this movie because Palpatine never died. You know, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, so, and he's been in hiding for this long. One of the things that I didn't like about the movie with Palpatine the most was I didn't like the fact that it was just like he came back and everyone was just like, oh yeah, he's back. Okay, well, we got to stop him. I wish there was a little bit more build up to it. Like maybe some people were like, no, he can't be back. You know, and like something happens. Like I wish there was a little bit more of that. Also, I was laughing at how Palpatine was like hooked up to all this machinery, and he's just like, "Strike me down." And Kylo Ren wouldn't strike him down, so when he goes, "Ray, strike me." I'm like, this poor guy just wants to fucking die. You made me think of like a dog that just need to be put out of his misery. I mean, his fingers are all like zapped off, and he's just all machinery going around, just like kill me so I can possess somebody. You know?
It just and I see that. It's just, look, you have these Star Wars books, okay? You have the Thrawn trilogy, right?
Yeah.
From 1991. The Thrawn trilogy was at the time episodes 7, 8, and 9. And I read the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I wished that that would have just been the way it was. Those are the way you do Star Wars sequels. You don't, they didn't bring back the Emperor. Yes, the villains were remnants of the Empire trying to come back. That's fine, right?
Yeah.
But you had a villain that was not a fucking Sith. You had a fucking fantastic villain in Thrawn. Thrawn's a fucking great villain.
Oh,
But
he's
he's not a
badass.
Sith Lord. Yeah, but he's not a Sith Lord. That's what
Hmm.
was so great about it. And you don't need to go back to the Star Wars universe. They were proving in those expanded universe that not every bad guy has to be a fucking Sith Lord. They created those aliens that were fucking immune to the Force. I mean, they were really expanding it beyond what we know. But then this fucking trilogy goes back and says, "Oh, all bad guy. We'll just bring back the Emperor." It's just
Well, I think that's the reason why Mandalorian is so fucking good. Like, I know you
yeah.
watched a couple episodes. Did you finish that by any chance?
Not yet. I haven't had a chance. But it's good. It's a good from what I saw. It's
Well,
it's the same situation that I am with The Witcher. I love The Witcher too, but I haven't finished it. So there you go.
well, I'll say this: the Mandalorian, like episode, I think it's episode 7 or episode 8. The last 2 episodes are by far some of the best television I've watched, and what I think makes Mandalorian so good. And then I was talking to a couple of friends of mine at work and everything. We were talking about Star Wars. And what makes it so good is that it's expanding the universe in the sense that, like you said earlier, it doesn't have to be about Jedi. It doesn't have to be Sith. I mean, sure, there's some forced moments, of course, because of the child, a.k.a. Baby Yoda. There's some moments about that. But it's just like you get to see what the universe is. This galaxy that's far, far away is more than just Jedi's versus Sith, and that's what I really like
And
about it.
and that's my problem with this new. I'm not saying you shouldn't have had a Sith Lord. I'm not saying that, but the problem with this new trilogy was they introduced these ideas, and
Hmm.
one of the ideas in the new trilogy, in Force Awakens, that was intriguing was Kylo Ren wasn't necessarily dark side.
Yeah,
Remember that? How they were toying with that? And then there's this Knights of Ren. They never expanded on the Knights of Ren until this fucking movie.
and they were bullshit. Knights of Ren was such bullshit. They were just like henchmen. That's it.
Yeah, they didn't do shit. Snoke, they're like, okay, fine, it just Snoke was the overlord of the First Order, and then now you find out he's what? Like, all they said was Palpatine created him.
Yeah,
I mean, what? I'm sorry, but I know that this might be one the. It's not if you look at it outside of Star Wars, it's really not. If you take the the Rise of Skywalker, cut it from the rest of the movies, it's good, it's entertaining. But you tie it in, and to me, it's terrible.
yeah,
It's just I'm a writer, you know that, and it's just I've never been a fan of the idea of a sequel regurgitating the sequel. I know this is stupid. I like Home Alone, and I do even like 2, but 2 bugs me because it's regurgitating this first movie.
yeah.
And I know this is ridiculous, but say what you will about Home Alone 3, but at least, they didn't regurgitate it too much in that one. They wrote this ridiculous plot about fucking secret fucking chips with North Korea and being stuck in a race car.
I've never
And
seen Home
but they
Alone
didn't
3.
honestly, it's not bad. It's really not bad because the kid that gets stuck alone. You know how in the original movie, the first 2, Kevin McAllister's just a prick.
Yeah,
He doesn't stay. He doesn't wish his family to go away. The kid just gets sick and
yeah,
is caught in that situation with a chip. What I'm saying is that when you do sequels, you don't regurgitate them. Okay, look at Star Wars itself. Empire Strikes Back and Jedi. What made those movies fantastic is they did not regurgitate them, right?
yeah.
That's my point, and that's it's kind of like, okay, I'll give you another example. There was an interview with the guy who directed Final Fantasy X-2,
Mm-hmm.
and say what you will about 10-2. I don't hate 10-2, and I'll give it credit. The only thing I didn't like is it brought back Tidus. That bothers me, okay?
Yeah.
But the plot was not Sin coming back. The plot was the villain was built into the lore around Sin, where you had to fight a mega weapon designed to destroy Sin that went AWOL essentially. And that's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
That when you expand on it, that's fine. But I have a problem when you regurgitate it, like when the bad guy comes back from the same movie. That's why, like, I'm skeptical of these Avatar movies because they're using the same bad guy from the first one.
Yeah, I still say this. I would have loved it if Snoke turned out to be Darth Plagueis, because I was one of those people that I had that theory. I'm like, oh, Snoke is totally Darth Plagueis, and I thought that would have been great because I felt like that would have made everything go full circle. Considering Darth Plagueis is like, he's the one who trained Palpatine. Palpatine's the one that trained Anakin. It would have been all going around full circle with a new generation from the very, very beginning. That would have been awesome. But instead, it was just like, I don't know. It was terrible.
They didn't have a direction.
Yeah.
I think you should have a direction. I'll give you an example. Say what you will about the Matrix sequels, but you can tell they had a direction.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying.
I think the movies. I think the movies direction was pretty much Disney trying to get people back into Star Wars, because I guess they thought that people weren't into it as much, but trying to get that nostalgia, and now they are going in a totally different direction. They've ended the Star Wars saga, so now they have a new clean slate. And I'll be honest, I feel like when Disney does something Star Wars-esque that doesn't have to do with the Skywalkers, it's actually not too bad. Like, think of Rogue One. Rogue One was really good. Mandalorian was really good.
Yeah.
And I know you didn't really care for the Solo movie, but I thought the Solo movie was pretty good, for what it was. So I'm kind of excited to see what Disney's going to do with Star Wars now that they're not relying on the Skywalkers and nostalgia. Now that may change, because if Star Wars starts to go in a little stale, we might have a return of Kylo Ren. We might have a return of Rey, or, Finn, or a Poe series on Disney Plus. It's only a matter of time.
Right. And you know what? I think that's another problem. Poe and Finn were, to me, the breakout characters from that original film.
Yes.
And man, they underutilized them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God! Talk about characters with potential.
Yeah,
imagine what you could have done with even just Finn. I mean, Finn's story. I mean, look at what they did with Han Solo. They explored his indifference in those movies so much, between doing the right thing and his selfishness. They could have done that more and they did a good job with Finn in that first movie. But then in the second one, they made him into a joke, and in this one, he's just an ancillary character.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Now, let's talk about one thing, because I know we've talked a lot about what we didn't like about the movie. What were some things that you did like about the movie?
I liked how they used Lando. I think he was I mean, to me, they've disrespected all of the original three. At least they gave Lando respect.
Yeah.
I hope you agree with that. They gave Lando Calrissian respect with the way they treated him.
Yeah, I love the introduction. The introduction of Lando was very nostalgic.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I told you, I think if you cut it off, the thing about the film is it's not that the film was executed badly. That was the problem with Last Jedi. The problem was the poor attempt to tie in everything and using lazy writing. But the film itself, if you cut it off, it's really entertaining. I mean, the fight scenes are great, but then again, the other thing that has killed me about this trilogy is just Rey. Rey is just not an interesting protagonist. And before anyone says it, oh, you're a sexist for not liking her, I will say this again. If she was a male and written the same exact way, I'd say the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because it's, and I think that's another problem with this trilogy is that if you say that you don't like a character for being badly written, for some reason you're a sexist.
Yeah.
So, but going back to what I liked, I think there were good ideas. I liked the Rey as Palpatine's granddaughter, but they could have done something more with that. They could have done a lot more. And I think they revealed it too late.
Yeah. This should have been a little bit of a build up towards the almost like final act of Last Jedi, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should have been. But anyway, with her, there's that. Kylo Ren's redemption was really well done. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one good thing about this trilogy is they have shown that character struggle so much that it makes sense with his final. I think he's the most consistent element. I know a lot of people don't like him. They're like, oh, Kylo Ren's an emo and all that. But you know what? With me, he's probably the most consistent and best written element in this whole new trilogy.
I loved Kylo Ren in this movie. Like I you know, just the way it starts off. I mean, the movie starts off with him completely kicking ass, which was really funny because we've always seen Star Wars after the crawl, it would show, you know, a space battle or it would show a transition to a planet of some sort of conflict. But we go to like this montage of like Kylo Ren just owning everybody and just kicking everyone's ass. And I liked his struggle. Like he definitely had that struggle throughout the movie. And it's like he knew deep down that, you know, what he was doing wasn't the right path. And that's what I liked about it.
Right. And they showed that throughout the whole trilogy.
Yes.
And I love that. I actually absolutely love that. But again, you know, and his final act and all that. And I don't look, as much as I don't like Rey, I didn't mind the love story with her and Kylo Ren. That made sense. But aside from that, it's just he was really good in this movie. In fact, I think this movie too treated the characters with far more respect than Last Jedi did.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know, so that's a good thing. The action sequences were fantastic. I even had issues with the action sequences in Last Jedi. But in this one, it felt like Star Wars action sequences. And that's the strange thing about it, is that you cut it off, it's not a bad film. It hurts. What hurts it is when you tie it in.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm the type of guy that, you know, will never say, oh, you know, bad Star Wars raped my childhood or any of that nonsense. Because you can't really destroy one's childhood when you actually enjoyed it. I never liked that phrase, if that makes sense.
I always thought that. I hate that phrase because I mean it's just like your childhood's fine. Your childhood's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
You enjoyed it back then. It's not like you went back and ruined it. You know, you didn't go around and they remade those movies when you were a kid or something dumb. You know.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is, if I don't like a sequel, I pretend it don't exist. I'll give you an example. You ever seen Airplane?
Yes.
Great comedy, right?
Right, yeah.
Airplane 2? Not so much.
I don't think I've ever seen Airplane 2.
You don't. That's all I'm saying. It's a comedy, and I get it, and you're probably a lot more looser. It's just not as funny as the original.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, with Airplane 2, I just don't watch it and pretend it doesn't exist. This trilogy is a little different because I do like parts of it. You know, in a lot of ways, it's the way I feel about the prequels. But at least I have those books I could go to.
Yeah.
To read. So I'm not... And I don't know if you've ever read them, Xander.
I've read a couple of them. I've read a little bit of the Thrawn books. I've read a little bit of. I remember I did finish Darth Plagueis. I read that one.
Oh, that book's good.
It's so good, and Darth Maul as well. His book they came out with. It was really good. But I watched. I know a lot of the the quote unquote Legend series. I know a lot about the Legend series because I watch a lot of like Star Wars YouTube channels where they talk about a lot of the extended universe, and it's really really good stuff. And they will talk about when Vader tried to turn on Palpatine, or why Vader didn't do this and do that. And I love it because when you watch those Star Wars videos, they'll talk about the lore, and they'll have like canon, non-canon, because like now there's certain things that's happen. There's some things that are part of Legends, like that's not part of canon anymore. And it's kind of unfortunate because some of the stuff that was non-canon is like, damn man, that would have been awesome to see this on film.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool ideas in those things. Like and one of the more controversial elements too in those extended universes. One of my favorite authors of all time is R.A. Salvatore. He wrote the Dark Elf books, which he still writes. There's about 30 of them. Don't worry though, don't get intimidated by that series because they're not one long story. Yes, there's a continuity, but you can jump into one of the trilogies, start there, and you'll be fine. But they will reference old events. But you know what I'm trying to say here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he wrote one of the Star Wars novels, Vector Prime, and he killed off Chewbacca in those novels.
Oh,
and
wow.
Man, fans were pissed. And I was thinking, yeah, they were sending him death threats and such. Holy shit, this trilogy massacred all three of them.
Yeah, that's one thing if I can say one thing I hate the most about Star Wars, is the fan base. I mean, and I know we're huge Star Wars fans and we're talking about Star Wars, but the fan base in general I cannot stand because some people are just like way too passionate.
I agree with the fan base, but I don't like how they act.
Yeah.
I've always talked about this in anything. Like me, I'll tell you what fan base is just as bad to me too, and it's something I beloved. It's one of my most beloved things, and that's the Final Fantasy fan base.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That fan base is fucking. They're probably worse than Star Wars, but the reason I brought them up is because, there's things I agree with them, but the way they approach it.
Yeah.
Like my son, my son loves this new trilogy. He adores it. And maybe it's because, he's it's for him what the original was for us. And then there's a group of kids that the prequels were that for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like my girlfriend, she's 5 years younger than me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when that movie came out, she was 10, 9. That's why the prequels are special to her. I'm 5 years older. I grew up on the original trilogy, which she did as well. But what I'm trying to say is, I think it's a generational thing, and I'll respect that. I'll respect that, and I won't go out. If you like the new trilogy, fine. Even Last Jedi, I just when I complain about something, I think part of it is because of my education, Xander.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but I guess I agree with you. The fan base. Look, here's the thing. When they chased off that girl that plays Rose, I thought Rose was a horrible character, but that doesn't warrant you sending death threats to the actress.
Yeah, yeah.
Playing a shitty character.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's something I 100% agree with you with. I mean, like, it's like, dude, she's an actress. She got a job. That don't get mad at her. It was the script writers, and even then, like, sending death threats, like, come on, like, really? I mean, you had the actress who played Rey and the actress who played Rose. They're no longer. I don't know if they are anymore, or if they still are on hiatus. But they shut down their social media. Like, they got off social media because of it. I'm like, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, and I think Rose is a shitty character. I think Rey is, but that doesn't mean you should send death threats. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's just stupid. Why send death threats to someone that played a character, right? It's like,
yeah,
you've heard this. Have you ever heard of the Jake Lloyd story? You know who Jake Lloyd is, though, right?
I don't think so. Enlighten me.
He played Anakin in Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
You've heard. That movie ruined his life.
Yeah, same for the guy
who got picked on.
Yeah, same for the guy who played Jar Jar Binks. He almost committed suicide.
Yeah, and come on, I get it. These things are special to you. They're special to me, but you don't need to be harassing. This is the hypocrisy of it. A lot of these things have helped kids like me escape from bullying. But
Yeah.
now you're bullying, you're becoming the bully over something like it doesn't need to happen.
No, I agree.
And that's my problem. And it's both sides of the Star Wars fan base. Like, let's be honest, Ryan Johnson's conduct was not much better than those sending death threats either, though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know what's
Yeah.
funny is my girlfriend likes Last Jedi, and
Mm-hmm.
she she almost does it on purpose where she'll like say, yeah, Last Jedi was pretty good, and like it would just send me in this tirade where I was like start totally trashing the movie, and she loves it. Like she cracks up about it. I'm like, really, you like Last Jedi? I was like, what about that part where Luke Skywalker just throws his dad's lightsaber over his shoulder like freaking bad luck table salt, you know?
Yeah.
And she freaking loves it, but it's funny, man. Like you meet some people that just have different takes and different perspectives on Star Wars, and it's just interesting. When it all comes down to it, like you just gotta think about it. It's like this is a space opera with, space cowboys and laser swords at the end of the day.
It's space wizards.
Yeah,
It's fucking space wizards.
yeah,
That's what it is down the. Yeah, it's one of those things like we could say this later, but my girlfriend does not like the Japanese Power Rangers, and I get
hmm
it. But I like I think oh fuck it, I'm not even going to mention it because it's for an upcoming episode.
oh
But what I
yeah,
was saying was you can have a differing viewpoints on certain things.
yeah. I think that's the thing. The problem is with our society today. I think a lot of people get caught up in like echo chambers and get caught up in their own like almost cult of personality, where it's hard for people, and even online, it's hard for people to have different opinions and be civil about it and debate about it. And it's really hard online too, especially with text, because you can't read the inflections of someone's voice in text. So there's
Yeah.
times before that I've talked to people on certain topics, and I've used text, posting on Facebook, and they're like, "Man, you don't have to be so mad about it." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not mad about it. I'm just, telling you about this. You can't tell. You're just reading it in an angry manner, and I'm not even angry. I hate that."
It- yeah, I hate that too, and I think some people are, like there's some. I have to tell this story, Xander. I got to tell it
All
because
right.
it's relevant to what we're talking about. Do you remember this past summer you were in that group and that guy got mad at you for posting spoilers of all things Final Fantasy VII?
Oh my God, yes.
Why don't you tell him this story? I think you
Oh,
could tell it better.
okay, so yeah, there was like, Final Fantasy VII got re-release HD remaster on the Switch, and this guy was playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time, and he was on a group page, and he was getting upset that people were posting spoilers to Final Fantasy VII. Now, mind you, Final Fantasy VII is like an old ass video game that at this point, like Aerith's death is like Final Fantasy memes. It's kind of
Okay,
like
okay,
common knowledge at this point.
okay. Let me tell you something. And we talked about this when we did Batman. But remember, I told you that the plot twist at the end of Detective 27, the very first Batman story, was Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Yeah,
It's like that.
yeah,
It's yeah. That's what it is. It was a lot of people don't know that it started out as a plot twist.
yeah. And then it was like he was talking about it, and I like we got in a debate where I was just kind of like on the camp of being like, hey, I love the fact you're playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time. That is awesome. But at the same time, you cannot get mad at people talking about a game that's over 20 years old and talking about things that might spoil you. Like, I'm sorry, if it took you 20 years to play this game and you're finally playing it, the rest of the world doesn't need to beckon to your heat and call because, oh no, I don't want to be spoiled. Like, again, get out of your echo chamber,
And that's the thing. There's a simple solution to that, and it works. Stay off the fucking internet. It's not that
Yeah.
hard. And you can even stay. You know what? A lot of people they say like stay off the internet completely. It's easier than that. You don't even. You can even just. You can even just avoid Facebook, or you can avoid post on Facebook. It's really not that difficult. And then the story wasn't quite over though, right? Because I come into the picture.
Yeah, so I told Anthony about it, and it was a group. It was a Facebook group that he wasn't even in. He was like, "Dude, what's this group called?" So I told him the group. You go and you join the group, and your first post is a freaking 10 paragraph post that tells you the whole plot of Final Fantasy VII.
In a very in a very cool, bro, you need to keep playing it, like just encouraging him, but it spoiled everything.
Oh, I never
And
remember.
then go ahead.
I was gonna say that post got deleted so fast, and I think they kicked you out of the group. Like,
Oh yeah, but I didn't really care.
yeah.
But do you remember that they no warning, mind you, either. I just got kicked out.
Oh
But you
yeah.
said that they still talk about it in that group to this day.
Yeah, because that topic still comes up where someone was like, "Hey, I'm playing the Master Chief Collection for the first time. I'm playing the first Halo," and someone would post something and they would get mad and be like, "Oh, you're spoiling Halo for me." I'm like, dude, it's fucking Halo. Like, how do you not know anything about Halo? Like, I mean, I don't even play a whole lot of first-person shooters, but I know some fucking Halo. I mean, Halo is freaking awesome. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy.
But my post still comes up, you said.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, like that one guy who gave the whole plot to Final Fantasy VII. It's like, oh my god.
Oh, you're really mad over that? It's like, come on. You know what? I'll tell you this, and I've always said this, is that back in the day, one of the biggest things was those Brady game guides. The only one that they ever got right was the Final Fantasy VIII guide, right?
Yes.
We know the Final Fantasy IX one was incomplete or it was lazy. Go online to see how to beat the final boss, remember? And then the Final Fantasy VII one spoiled the whole story. And it
Yeah.
spoiled the death of Aerith. So there
Yep.
you go. So
Yep.
it's like they beat me to the punch.
Yeah. Well, we're running short on time. So I think with our ending Star Wars talk, if you had to give this a score, Anthony, like a 1 out of 10, what would you give Rise of Skywalker?
I'm going to give it 2 stars. Okay?
Okay.
Part of the Star Wars saga, it's a 1 out of 10.
Oh wow.
Just because I gave my
Yeah.
reasons. It
Yeah.
really hurts. It hurts it. I'm sorry, but it does. But if you cut it out, it's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. Well, hold on. Let me real quick say something. That's the thing about watching it. Sometimes you should just watch it in a different viewpoint. I don't think a lot of people do that. You don't watch something in the you ever see like the Toxic Avenger?
Yeah.
Okay, you
Classic.
don't go there's people. Yeah, but some people go into that thinking it's a legit scary movie. No, you got to watch it as a dumb fucking piece of shit, which it is.
Yeah.
An entertaining dumb fucking piece of shit. But that's the thing. People don't watch certain things in certain mindsets.
Yeah, that would be a really good idea for a future episode. Trauma. Do a whole episode on the trauma movies.
We
Because,
got to talk
oh,
about Sergeant Kabuki, man.
oh yeah.
Do you know they have a streaming service?
They do?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They even have the Toxic Avenger children's cartoon.
Oh god, I remember that.
Toxie and the Crusaders are.
Yeah, I remember that cartoon.
So.
But for me, the Star Wars movie, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was.
Okay.
I didn't think it was a bad movie. Of course, there are some things that we mentioned earlier in the podcast that there were some things I didn't agree with. There were some things I was like, but at the same time, like I look at it in the perspective that the whole saga itself was a train wreck after Last Jedi to begin with. It was a pure train wreck, and J.J. Abrams kind of just went and just like did the best he could to put it back on life support, pretty much. Like it was just how much more could he do with that kind of movie?
I think the lesson that we should learn that people don't learn is when you write epic stories like this, fantasy stories and such, there should be a level of planning.
Yeah.
There should always be a level of planning. And that's evident here that there obviously wasn't.
Yeah, there definitely wasn't planning. I think it's a very messy trilogy. Because when you watch Force Awakens, it had its promising era. You're just like, yeah, this is kind of a retelling of A New Hope, but hey, it's not bad. It's fucking Star
And
Wars.
what's the future going to brew? What's the future going to bring? It's going to be, it's going to be great. And then you watch The Last Jedi and you realize it's not.
Yeah,
but we got Rogue One.
Yeah, and like I was saying, because when you watch Force Awakens, that movie introduced you to new characters and introduced you to what the original characters were up to. It had a new bad guy. It had that mystery, like where this bad guy came from. We're talking about Snoke. Like, who is Snoke? Who is Rey's parents? There were like so many mysteries, and it was so many things. Like, man, this is going to be a really interesting trilogy. What they do with this, and then The Last Jedi took everything that you were wondering about the previous movie and just completely threw it out of the window. It was just like, hey, we're just going to make a bunch of Marvel-esque kind of humor jokes to start the movie off with, like Poe telling Hex, like General Hex, like your mama jokes. We're going to have some shit like that, and we're gonna screw up Luke Skywalker. That's one thing I did like about Rise of Skywalker is Luke came back. That was the most Luke Skywalker I've ever seen in this whole trilogy. That was very Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah.
So I love what they did with that, because like I said, Last Jedi was just that to me. That's the worst Star Wars movie ever made, was Last Jedi. Like I did not like that movie.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that does it though.
Yep. Yeah, this is gonna wrap up another episode of Blast Podcasting, and just to let you guys know, if you enjoy our show, you can check us out on just about any sort of podcast catcher, from Spotify to Stitcher to iTunes, iHeartRadio. And if you want to listen to some archived episodes, check us out on youtube.com/XanderScullion or youtube.com/ Anthony's channel. I'm trying to remember your URL because you have
Magus X1.
That's it. I didn't know if it was this Magnus X1 or Magnus X1 something else, but anyway, you can check our archive episodes there, and also check out Anthony's gaming podcast, Absolute Counter. I'm looking forward to some more episodes of that, my friend.
Ooh, I need to say something about that. We're on a little brief of a hiatus, but we'll be back soon.
Okay, sweet. And also, if you enjoy gaming podcasts, check out Access Gaming Podcast as well with my co-host James Gruesome. We got a new episode coming out pretty soon. We're going to be talking about arcades and stuff like that. And
I'm in.
Yeah, it's going to be a good episode. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening to another episode of Blast Podcasting, and we'll be blasting off to the next episode.